Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something lots of you might be dealing with. How to actually learn English when you're doing it solo, at home. We're digging into the English Dose podcast on this exact topic. They argue it's not really a downside, learning alone. Like an opportunity. Right.
Exactly. An opportunity for really personalized learning. That's the core idea. You're in the driver's seat.
Right.
You set the schedule, the pace, choose the tools, the topics, whatever works for you. And I mean, the source is spot on about the sheer amount of stuff online now. It's incredible.
It really is.
But yeah, the key is turning all that freedom into something structured. You need a plan, consistency.
Okay, structure. Let's talk about that. The English Dose podcast really hammers home the idea of a daily routine, even a short one.
Yeah, definitely.
Their example was like 10 minutes listening, 10 reading, 10 speaking or writing, only 30 minutes total. They even suggest less can work, which is encouraging.
Totally. It's that daily touch point that matters, making it a habit. And that specific routine, they suggest it's simple, but it covers the bases,
Keeps it balanced.
Yeah, balanced, engaging, but not like overwhelming. You don't need hours every day.
So, okay, that's the daily habit. What about the actual resources, especially free ones?
Yes.
Go podcast lists quite a few. Obviously, other podcasts, YouTube channels. There are tons and specific apps, too. They mentioned Duolingo, BBC Learning English, Hello Talk.
Right, Hello Talk for connecting with others. And they even threw in ChatGPT.
Which is interesting for, like, checking writing, grammar help, even practicing conversations, apparently.
It really highlights how accessible learning can be now. You don't need expensive courses. These tools put so much good material right there for you.
True.
And they all offer something a bit different, don't they? Podcasts for listening on the move. Video adds that visual element. Apps make it feel like a game sometimes.
Yeah, caters to different styles. But what about speaking? That's often the big hurdle for solo learners, isn't it?
It definitely can be. But the podcast had some really practical tips here, things you can actually do alone.
Like what?
Well, just talking to yourself. Narrating your day in English, maybe? Repeating lines you hear in videos?
Okay.
And recording yourself speaking.
Ooh, that feels a bit awkward, maybe.
It can, initially. But it's super helpful. You actually hear your pronunciation, your hesitations.
Yeah.
Great for self-correction. It takes a bit of courage, like the source implies, but the payoff for fluency is potentially huge.
Makes sense. And beyond that sort of active practice, they also mentioned just surrounding yourself with English.
Immersion, exposure.
Yeah, like watching shows, maybe start with subtitles on, listening to music in English, reading simple stuff, articles, graded readers.
Exactly. It all builds up this richer feel for the language. You start absorbing the rhythm, the natural phrases, not just grammar rules from a book.
You see how it actually works.
Precisely. Context is everything.
And one last really simple tip they shared. Keep a notebook.
The classic. Still works.
Yeah. Write down new words, new phrases you come across. But crucially, actually use them. Try putting them in your own sentences.
That's the key step, isn't it? Moving vocabulary from passive, just recognizing it, to active, actually using it yourself. That's how it sticks.
Right. Makes it part of your working language.
Yeah.
So when you boil it down, the message seems to be, yes, you absolutely can learn English effectively at home, alone.
Totally achievable.
It's less about money, more about, well, consistency, like you said. Being curious, using those free resources, and having the courage to, talk to yourself now and then.
It starts right where you are. You don't need to wait for the perfect course or teacher.
Fluency starts at home, as they say.
Which leads us nicely to a final thought for you listening.
What's one small thing, one tiny change you could add to your routine, maybe even starting today, to really kickstart your English learning journey?